Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going over the reading section for Lesson 3, and the topic for Lesson 3 is keeping warm. Keeping warm, to make sure you're not too cold. Let's take a look at the reading passage. First of all, we have polar bears live in a very cold place. A very cold place. Wow, look at the snow and the ice. It's very cold. Where is it? Before I told you, North Pole. So polar bears live in a very cold place at the North Pole. A lot of snow and ice. There is a lot of ice and snow, as we can see. What keeps them warm? How do these polar bears stay warm? What keeps them warm? That's the question. We need to read more to find out. But first, let's review very quickly. Polar bears live in a very cold place. There is a lot of ice and snow. What keeps them warm? What is it? Let's continue. Polar bears, they. When we see they, we're talking about polar bears. Polar bears. Polar bears. Polar bears, they. They don't wear jackets. I don't wear jackets. We don't see bears wearing jackets. They don't wear gloves, right? They don't wear gloves. Fur keeps them warm. It's their fur. Wow, look at that. Really thick fur. The fur keeps them warm. The polar bears have white fur. It's white, right? And their fur is very thick. Wow, you can really see that. It's really thick fur. Polar bears have white, thick fur to keep them warm. Why is it white? So they can hunt other animals. They can't see them because white is the same color as snow. So polar bears are hard to see at the North Pole. So polar bears have white fur and their fur is very thick. It keeps them warm because they don't wear jackets. They don't wear jackets. They don't wear gloves. People wear jackets and gloves. Okay? Let's review. They don't wear jackets. They don't wear jackets. They don't wear gloves. Fur keeps them warm. It's the fur. Polar bears have white fur. They're polar bears. Their fur is very thick. Their fur is very thick. That's how they stay warm. Okay, let's continue. What else keeps them warm? What else? We know fur. Fur keeps them warm, yes, but what else? What's more? Is there anything else that keeps them warm? What else keeps them warm? Fur, yeah, we know that. But what else keeps them warm? Is there something else? Do they wear hats? A polar bear wears a hat? Do they wear scarves? No, they don't. Polar bears don't wear hats. They don't wear scarves. No, they don't. They don't wear these things. Let's review here very quickly. What else keeps them warm? Do they wear hats? Do they wear scarves? No, they don't. Okay? What is it? Let's find out. But, right? They don't wear hats. They don't wear scarves. But they do have a lot of fat. Fat keeps them warm. So fat keeps polar bears warm. Not halves, not hats, not scarves, but fat. Fur and fat keep polar bears warm. So there's two things that keep polar bears warm. Fur, thick fur, and they also have fat. Fat keeps them warm too. So two things keep them warm. Let's review. But they do have a lot of fat. A lot of fat. Fat keeps them warm. Fur and fat keep polar bears warm. So two things that keep polar bears warm. Good for polar bears, right? Okay, here we have polar bears stay warm in the snow. There's a lot of snow, but even so, they stay warm in the snow. They stay warm on the ice. In the snow, on the ice. So we say in the snow, but we say on the ice. Not in the ice, that's really cold, right? But we can say in the snow, okay? They stay warm in the snow, they stay warm on the ice. Polar bears stay warm in cold water too. Polar bears go swimming in that water. Ooh, it's really cold. But they stay warm in the water. They swim very well. Polar bears are good swimmers. Okay? Are you a good swimmer? Polar bears are very good swimmers. They can swim in very cold water. Why? Polar bears like to eat fish, so they can swim and catch the fish in their mouth, right? They catch the fish that way, or they wait for the fish to come near the water, and then they get the fish. They swim and find fish to eat. Okay, so let's review here. Polar bears stay warm in the snow. They stay warm on the ice. Polar bears stay warm in cold water too. They swim very well. Polar bears like to eat fish. They swim and find fish to eat. Okay, what else keeps them warm? What else? We talked about fur. We talked about fat. What else keeps them warm? Is there something else? Another thing? Yes, there is. Cuddling. Aw, very cute. Kyupchio, right? Polar bears cuddle, right? They stay close together to each other. Cuddling keeps them warm. Polar bears like to cuddle. They like to hold on to their sisters and brothers and their family, right? They hold on to each other. They cuddle. So polar bears stay close to each other to keep them warm. So there's three things that keep polar bears warm: fur, fat, and cuddling. Okay? So these things keep polar bears warm. Let's review. What else? What else keeps them warm? Cuddling. Aw, cuddling keeps them warm. Polar bears like to cuddle. Polar bears like to cuddle. Okay, let's do our reading comprehension. How well do you remember the reading? We have a sentence here, but there's a blank. Beep, right? We have to fill in the blank with one of these words. Only one is the correct answer. Let's look. This story is about. What is this story about? Remember what the subject is. What are we talking about in the story? What's the main subject? We're talking about A, vegetables, B, fat people, C, polar bears, D, warm places. Which is the correct answer? Vegetables? Now, we're not talking about plants that we eat. We're talking about fat people? No, we're not talking about fat people. We didn't talk about people at all. So we're not talking about people at all. Fat people, thin people, not anybody. C, polar bears. Aha, we're talking about polar bears, right? Because we're talking about ways that polar bears stay warm, but the story is about polar bears, right? D, warm places? No, polar bears live in the North Pole. It's not a warm place, it's a very cold place. So, this story is about polar bears. That's our best answer. Okay, number two. Number two, 힘들어. Beep and beep, right? We have two blanks. We have to fill in two blanks for this sentence. Let's look at the rest of the sentence. We have beep and beep. Keep polar bears warm. So, we're looking for two things that keep polar bears warm. Remember, we talked about three, but we only want two for this answer. So, what are they? A, jackets, gloves. B, blood, exercise, C, penguins, snow, and D, fur and fat. Let's take a look. A, jackets and gloves. In the story, we saw that polar bears don't wear jackets. They don't wear gloves, right? That's crazy. Animals don't wear clothes. Only humans wear clothes. So that's not correct, right? B, blood. Blood and exercise. Polar bears are exercising at the North Pole? No, that would be very funny, right? You see polar bears doing push-ups. Okay? No, that's not correct. Okay? C, penguins and snow. Penguins are at the South Pole. Penguins aren't at the North Pole. So polar bears never see penguins. Polar bears don't know about penguins. Snow? Snow is cold. It doesn't keep people warm. So that's not correct. D, fur and fat. Those are two things we talked about in the reading passage, right? Fur. Polar bears have thick fur and they have fat that keeps them warm. They also cuddle, but we're only looking for two. 1, 2. So fur and fat. Those are the two that we need to fill in the blanks. Fur and fat keep polar bears warm. Okay? Also cuddling, but cuddling's not here. We only need 2. We only need 2. Okay. Number 3. Polar bears like to eat. What do polar bears like to eat? Remember, they can swim very well, so they can find something to eat. What do they find? A, fish, B, snow, C, carrots, D, kimbap. Yes, kimbap, right? So, at the North Pole, polar bears can find people, right? Hello, can I have some kimbap, please, right? No, that's crazy, right? Polar bears cannot go to the kage, or the supermarket, and buy kimbap, right? No, that's silly. Polar bears like to eat carrots. Do carrots grow at the North Pole in the snow and the ice? No, carrots don't grow at the North Pole. That's silly. Polar bears like to eat snow. We don't eat snow. Don't eat snow. That'll make you cold. And besides, snow is not food. It's frozen water. So polar bears don't eat snow. Polar bears eat fish, don't they? So that's the right answer. Polar bears like to eat fish. They can swim to find and catch fish, to find and eat the fish. Polar bears will eat fish. Okay. Now we have our chart here, okay? We can see that there are 3 things that keeps polar bears warm. What keeps polar bears warm? 1, 2, and 3. Actually, 1, 2, and 3. Let's look at them in each picture. First of all, we can see this here. Wow, it looks very soft, right? It's very thick. It's white. It covers the polar bears completely. What is it? We say it's fur. Fur keeps polar bears warm. So a lot of fur keeps polar bears warm. Also, we can see fur here, but also what else do polar bears have that keeps them warm? If we look at this polar bear, he looks very big, right? He might have a big stomach. If he eats a lot, he'll have a big stomach. If he doesn't eat, he doesn't have this. But it's very important. Fat. Fat keeps polar bears warm. So if a polar bear eats a lot of fish or other food, he has a lot of fat, and that keeps the bear warm. What are these polar bears doing? They like each other, right? They're kind of hugging each other. For a long time, they stay close to each other. So also cuddling, ing. Cuddling keeps polar bears warm. If you do something for a long time, you are doing it. You are cuddling. Cuddling keeps polar bears warm. So we can see in this chart 3 things that keep polar bears warm. 1, fur keeps polar bears warm. 2, fat keeps polar bears warm. And 3, cuddling keeps polar bears warm. So when we talk about polar bears, of course we know polar bears live in the North Pole. There's a lot of snow and ice there. So we think, what keeps them warm? Animals have to stay warm. These three things will keep polar bears warm. Not just polar bears, but all animals, right? Animals have hair to keep them warm. Animals have fat to keep them warm. And animals will cuddle with each other to stay warm. So it's not just polar bears, but many types of animals will do these things also. Okay, I hope you've had fun learning some interesting facts about polar bears and other animals. Okay, that wraps up this lesson. We'll see you next time. Take care.